Hello, everyone. How are you doing? This is Daryl Guberman. I am the CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. We've been open now going on 13 years. My experience ranges from aerospace, medical implants, medical materials, printing, and plastic distribution, where I dealt with every industry under the sun. My education, I have a BS degree in management. I have 5 technical diplomas from ASM International Materials Engineering Institute, a fantastic institution, composite engineering technology, non-ferrous metallurgy, testing and inspection, welding metallurgy, and applied general metallurgy. This video today has to focus in on David Calhoun, yes? And the video is Boeing CEO David Calhoun calls the Alaskan Airlines incident a mistake that should never happen. QA expert Daryl Guberman exposes Boeing and the FAA. And we do this because we believe in you, ladies and gentlemen, when you get on a plane, that it should be safe. When what you see today, you are not safe, and it's because of what he said in the interview. His regulator, the FAA. You will find out in this video that the FAA gave up inspection and basically went into Boeing in 2009, took some of the Boeing employees, put the FAA hat on them, put them back out there onto the floor, and they were representing the FAA. For testing, inspection, certification, they were representing it. So in this video that we're going to show you the interview, on CNBC, you're going to hear a lot of rhetoric from David Calhoun. I will say this to the board, I can run that company better than David. That is for sure, without a doubt. We continue on. As I said, this video is about Boeing. I am going to show you the history, and then I'm going to let David Calhoun do his interview, because this is very important. You have ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental corporation that's been around over 100 years. They have both federal agencies and corporations on board. In 2015, Mr. Randy Doherty, the Vice President of ANAB, the Chairman of the International Accreditation Forum Incorporated in Delaware, and also he sat as the principal on the tax form for the IAF 990, and he had command and control over the entire organization. He handed over leadership in 2015 to this communist Chinese national, Zhao Jinwu, who has been involved with our quality since 1994. At the time, Zhao Jinwu was also the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services out of Beijing, China. He is mandated by his country of origin, Communist China, to take your data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. In 2017, he was issuing a laboratory certification to no other than Wuhan, China, okay? The lab that let the virus out. And I'm going to tell you who confessed to that. Miss Pamela Sale at the same time was down at a deposition because of poor quality outcomes in the laboratory down there. And she's the vice president of laboratory accreditation for ANSI ANAB. She said under deposition, and I quote, "From one laboratory to another, there are variances. Doesn't matter, forensics, phlebotomy, or biolevel 4 like it was in Wuhan." And also in 2018, you had some specialists from the United States go visit Wuhan, where the scientists there were complaining about not having enough qualified technicians to do the work. And in a CDC document for training virology labs in May of 2019, it stated the most important, and by the way, the only virology lab mentioned in this training protocol for the CDC was no other than Wuhan, China. It states that qualified technicians are the backbone of any sort of virology lab that you're dealing with hazardous viruses. We go back. In 2017, Randy Doherty was being advertised on the Department of Homeland Security website, okay, for a specialized certification, but that's not it. He was being represented as an ANAB, ANSI ANAB vice president of a private concern, not a government entity, a private concern. You will find out, and I'm not going to go into it here, but the Department of Homeland Security was sitting as a member on ANSI, and they were getting paid very good money, $262,000. Not for profit. Actually, it was a royalty payment. We have to go on because I don't want this video to be long-winded. So we're going to continue. So you have that. By the way, ANSI and ANAB, you will find that ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018. Are you getting this so far? Also, they are underwriters, which means they take full legal responsibility for that door being ripped off the plane, because if it was manufactured in an ANAB, ANSI ANAB accredited organization or any accreditation body that fits under the IAF, the International Accreditation Forum Incorporated in Delaware is a repository for international and national accreditation bodies. In fact, in 2016, I was invited to join either ANAB or IAF or both. But would you join it? Cybersecurity and all the rest of that stuff. He was watching over the IAF, and you have ANSI and ANAB, you will see shortly. They were sitting on the IAF during his term of office, 2015 to 21. So do you think I'm going to be a schmuck and jump on board with ANAB and the IAF, who was watched over by this guy? Oh my goodness. ANSI ANAB have over 10 different registrars in China that can issue an ANAB accreditation. You find anything wrong with cybersecurity? They're supposed to be an American company. ANAB sits on ANSI's board. As I said, ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018. Also, there they are, both of them sitting on the IF between 2015 and 2021. What makes matters a little bit sticky here, since they're incorporated in Delaware, an American company, who do they have sitting on board? No other than Iran and Pakistan. And I emphatically say this is not for the population of Iran, for the population of Pakistan, but I say this for the politicians there. You have this guy in Iran who says the death to the United States. You have this guy over here, he's already dead, supposedly, Osama bin Laden, the mastermind of 9/11. And they sit there, and the worst thing is that they are equivalent in accreditation to ANAB. On Boeing's supplier portal, it states, and I quote, a third-party registrar must be either ANSI or ANAB or internationally equivalent. So in reality, since they are equivalent to accreditation as ANAB, they are an ANAB, they're it. And remember, ANAB, ANSI ANAB are underwriters, not just for the IAF, but for the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation in Australia. And here we go to the brass tacks. This is why when you listen to David Calhoun, he does not know. Maybe he does, but I'm bringing this to the forefront and you're hearing it from me. Why? Because most people can't handle this truth. And as Thomas Paine said, when speaking the truth, it's many times like administering medication to the dead. In 2002, Boeing came out with a bulletin, Boeing suppliers. And it states, on-site Boeing surveys, which means audits, on-site Boeing survey/audit of the supplier's quality system if need be. Our preference is to deal with proven suppliers with excellent quality performance and not have to do on-site quality system audits. What that means is this. I'm manufacturing this critical flight safety part for Boeing. I have an AS9100 certificate, which is the ISO standard for aerospace. I send that certificate into Boeing. They said, check off the box, don't have to send any type of inspection, send in the part, and they put it on the plane. That's what it means. On top of that, that was 2002. Let's bring up this. Now, David Calhoun makes a comment about, the regulatory, the FAA is doing a great job, blah, blah, blah. You'll listen to it. But you're going to find out that Boeing sits with the FAA on ANSI's board. It's coming up very shortly, but I want to show you this. In 2009, the FAA came into Boeing and basically took their holy water out and went FAA, 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 meaning that they certified Boeing employees as if they were FAA employees. Let me read you some of this. The FAA increased the authority of Boeing Commercial Airplanes Division to self-certify its own aircraft. Boeing is set to officially switch to the new system dubbed Organization Designation Authorization. Try to say that 3 times fast. On August 31st, it was 2009. Authority extended to Boeing under this new system. Now, this is 2009, mind you, and here we are in 2024, 15 years later, and this is what happens when you allow a company to self-inspect, and here it is. Authority extended to Boeing under the new system allows Boeing employees to perform tasks on behalf of the FAA that include oversight of testing and product standards, along with certification of aircraft technologies and new designs. Boeing employees take on more responsibilities now. You want to hear about failure? You have to listen to David Calhoun talk about the FAA. I mean that, really listen. You have 7 different registrars that sit on ANSI ANAB, and they use the ANAB logo. Okay, like Intertek. Intertek is the registrar that Spirit Aerosystem uses. They put on their ANAB logo, and there you go. Unbelievable. BSI is what Alaska Air uses, and they also sit right over by ANAB and the logo. Is there any oversight? Boeing, here it is. Boeing sits on ANSI's board. Not only that, they sat on ANAB's board that can grant, suspend, and withdraw certification. Where the hell were they with Malaysian Air? Where the hell were they with Ethiopian Air? Not only that, just several weeks ago, the composite facility, I'm a composites guy, the composite facility that manufactures the V-22 Osprey material and parts got caught for not writing down, temperatures, pressures, for not just 1 year, from 2007 to 2018. Can you just imagine that? And you had the auditor come in, more than likely an ANAB accredited certificate, a guy from ANAB, one of the registrars, TUV, DNV, BSI, whatever, come in and not do their job. Why? Who knows? And now, here it goes. You have the FAA sitting by Boeing. Remember, FAA signed off Boeing's employees to represent the FAA. To prove the validity of this, my fellow citizens, here is some of the information about Boeing fudging documentation, putting into the plane and their Kobe steel fudging documentation. And all of those accreditation bodies that certified Kobe steel, that certified Boeing, all sit on the International Accreditation Form, which ANSI ANAB are underwriters for them. And then you have, look, the Department of Transportation sits over by Boeing and the FAA. You also have the Department of Justice. And I will say this again. This video is to expose this mess, and I'm going to play this for you, ladies and gentlemen, so that you can see it for yourself.
Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun, along with our Phil LeBeau. Phil?
Thank you, Kelly. Dave, I think the main question a lot of people have, in addition to what the status of the MAX 9 is, what was your reaction when you saw the Alaska Airlines blowout and the video Friday night?
Devastated, emotional. I saw the picture, everybody saw the opening, but what I really saw was the empty seat. And I had spent a week with my kids and grandkids, and so enough said. I imagine every human being who would see that understands the severity and the consequence. So immediately you get to work. That's what you have to do. I want to just take my hat off and our company's hat off to the Alaska Air team, specifically the crew that trained most of their lives to handle that moment, hoping they never will, but they did. And the crew alongside the pilots handled it as well as it can be handled. The plane landed safely and there were no fatalities. And then the leadership team did exactly what it needed to do. It grounded the airplanes, the FAA immediately grounded the airplanes, and the Boeing team supported every step of that process. And now we're in a moment where we have nobody at risk. And our job is to understand literally everything that has happened, everything that surrounds that particular fuselage plug, and fix it, and make sure it can never happen again.
What do you think happened?
Well, what happened is exactly what you saw. A fuselage plug blew out. That's the mistake. It can never happen. We're not allowed that to happen. And I'm not about to speculate, but I will say this. The work that our regulator, in this case the FAA, has been doing to inspect the situation and create a procedure and a protocol for the airlines to go out and inspect each and every one of the airplanes, 100% of them, and make sure certain they're in conformance with our design, which is a proven design. I'm confident that that process will not only prevent accident, but maybe more importantly, the data we collect from each and every one of those inspections, the data we collect, will inform all of the actions that we have to take as a company.
Your people were with the Alaska engineers teams when they took off some of their panels,
Yes.
and they started doing some inspections.
Yes.
Tell me what happened when you got the phone call as soon as they took off the panel and they said, we've got some loose bolts here.
Yeah, so, I have an engineer who is an awesome engineer who worked right alongside of the Alaskan Air. They inspected those first few. I asked him to call me the second he was done. And yes, he used that term, loose bolt. Now remember, a loose bolt in an aviation application is a bolt that's under torque.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it there. I think you've got the crux of it. You have the FAA, who seceded inspection to Boeing's personnel. You have the factor that Boeing put out a memo in 2002, if you're AS90 or 100, we don't have to send any more inspection to you. And now the dog has run out of the doghouse, and it ain't coming back. It's a sad state of affairs when you have him talking about a regulator like the FAA. The FAA should be taken to task. Since 2009, 15 years, they allowed Boeing to play tiddlywinks with your life. My telephone number is 203-556-1493 or Daryl, DARYL, TQRS @yahoo.com. I thank you.